All right, well, okie dokie. I mean, I hope we're up and running. Let us see. Yes, we are. Yay. That's good. Let's make sure our volume is down. Hello, hello. Little lunchtime. Well, lunchtime siesta. Live for everybody. Here we go. Hello. All right, just 1 minute. I need to get my rings. Whew. All right. So today, what are we gonna wear? I'm not sure. How are we feeling? Well, let's see. Maybe this one. No, not that one. Nope. That one's not gonna do it. Okay, here we go. This one's all right, I think. We'll do that one, and then I need one of my. Let's do squares. All right, squares today, everybody. Hi, Steffi. Hello. We're doing squares for rings. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. My goodness gracious. I want to make sure I've got some room here for the chat. So if anybody notices that there's no more room down here for the chat, please do let me know. And then that way I can kind of make it more user-friendly so we can see all of the, stuff. So... Hello, hi Nancy. I wish I was having tacos today, but nope, not today. Oh my gosh, I think I've had a banana. Does that count? I mean, that's not a taco though, right? Hello, hello, hello. At least I don't think it is, my knowledge. Hello. Let me make out my little sticky note today. Last night, for those of you that were with me last night, I had a couple of cases I was going to go through, but we started talking about the Insurrection Act and martial law and, what that's going to look like in the United States if that was going to ever happen. So we had a lot of really good questions and a really great discussion. So I thought I'd kind of share with you what I have in my quote-unquote war chest, which is the different cases, the statutes, the, other pieces to everything that has to go into our war chest. And I thought I would just share those with everybody here today. You betcha, Upgrade. You betcha. So, yeah, I thought that would be interesting. Because I feel like it's overwhelming here, which reminds me I'm missing a case. Just a minute. There's one more case in the printer. Let me see if I missed it. Did I? Oh, I did. Okay, I got it now. Yikes. So, there we are. Oh, yes. So I want to make sure that the peoples that are doing that, well, I don't know if it's people, but the people robots that are watching understand that all of this is public information and there is no copyright issue. Yes. Right. I'm not sure I can say the W word though. So I don't know. I'm going to struggle with that one, I think. But, it just is what it is. This is all law related to that. So, that's where we're at. Let's see here. What do we want to call this? Organizing, maybe. Organizing. Public documents. And on presidential power. Let's call it just presidential power. Pres power here. There. So that should be enough, right? 54-part series on the 54 federal titles. That seems like a lot. That may be that may be a lot. I mean, I'm definitely for it. I'm just not sure if I'd be able to do it. I tried to get through all of the hearsay objections, and by the time I got to 18, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. I'm gonna be passing out. I would watch. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, if you, yeah, I don't have the titles, but that's an interesting idea. We'll see. Maybe somebody would do it. Somebody that's not me. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Let me bump this up just a little bit. It seems like it's a little bit low on my screen. So I'll bump this up a little bit, but got to keep my eyes out for the puzzle that comes out. Just a summary of each one. My goodness. Hello, June Marie. Hi, Doughboy. Hi. Hello, hello. Stuffy. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, that's a lot. We'll see. We'll see. Let me chew on it. Let me chew on it for a little while. Be like making a deck of cards, right? All right, everybody. So, after my live last night, I felt like a lot of people wanted to have a little brush up or a little refresher here on what's happening within the powers that be whilst we are worrying about things. I'm not sure how many times I want to say war, but not, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Literally the sections of the law that are called war powers, along with a few other pieces. So hopefully I won't get dinged for the W word, or if people have suggestions, hello, Spooky Scary, would let us say the new name, War Department. Oh, good point. Right, the war chest. Is this for extra credit? Yes. But you don't need it. You're already getting an A. Oh, my goodness. Well, what I want to do is show you the documents, and so you can go online and just, bookmark them. Maybe just is too big of a word, but I thought that might be helpful. A special. I don't know. Maybe that one would work. All right. So I'm not even organized, everyone. I'm just like turning on my camera and thought, let's talk about this. So some of the tools I will be using, will be some manila folders. If you're doing this old school, if you are all online, that's great. For me, I have to do it old school style. So I've got some folders here that are helpful, right? And then I have my markers here, my big pen here. I just love the tip on this one. Old school, that's right. I'm just really, yeah, there's, oh my gosh, there's just a lot going on. So we don't want to be behind with the law. We want to know exactly how the law is working here, right? And this is not sponsored. Let me put this on my note here too. So not sponsored. I was going through the Constitution in one of my lives and got dinged for copyright. So that's why I'm a little paranoid right now. Not a sponsored. Is it? Oh my gosh. Is that right? That can't be right. Is that right? That's too many O's, I think. Not legal advice. That's right. All right. I'm looking to the chat for my my spelling of sponsored. I have to print on paper to be clear. Yeah. Okay. Did I spell it right? Oh my gosh. I think it's right. Okay. Hello, James. That's right. Yay, Logical. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh, we got it. Oh my goodness. I like to start the day with winning, right? So not sponsored. So the TT needs to chill. All right. So I'm just literally going through the documents that I have in my quote unquote war chest. And I can't show you the whole thing because it wouldn't show up, but I have a case like this, not sponsored, but it's like a half sheet pan, like a half of a hanging file note hanger thing over here, and it's just for this National Guard shenanigans here. Declaration of Independence one day, absolutely we can. And it is for these days here. Oh, here's Posse Comitatus. Oh my gosh, everybody, I was just pulling my hair out looking for it and I couldn't find it, and I was like, all right, we'll have to go off of memory, which isn't great. And then here, the Posse Comitatus right here, look at that. All right, so here's what I've got for putting things together, everyone. I have a big stack. Let's start with the cases, all right? The key cases that everyone should have here when we're working through these issues. So again, we're kind of putting this toolbox together. So whenever these are hitting the Supreme Court or going through different states, we know what they're talking about. All right, no problem, John. Nobel Peace Prize. Couldn't get it out of the gumball machine. Oh, man, that's the worst. You got to shake it, but only shake it when no one's watching. All right, so here's some of our cases. Probably one of the number one cases for sure is going to be the Barnes v. Felix case. This was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court on May 15th of last year. So as we go through our cases, we always look to see what's the most up to date and see what's going on in that case, and then start working backwards from that. So we have this in front of a SCOTUS, and this was a change to the doctrine when it comes to the levels of force being used, all right? So we have to look and see, was reasonable force used in the situation or not? There were two standards that we've been using in the U.S., maybe, and not both of them together, but just the totality of the situation analysis we've been using. But then there's also this, let's see. So the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene versus the reasonableness of police force requires analyzing the totality, but let's see where the last piece is. So this is the totality again. Inquiry has no limit, but this one does. Right, hold on here. I have here we go. Whether and how one's creation of dangerous situations. Ooh, that's really good. I'm sorry, I'm getting sucked into the case here, but it's called, what's it called? The Moment, in the Moment? National Guard in DC Metro a lot. Just hang around chatting. Yeah, there's not much that can be done in that moment. All right, let me flip back over for a second here, everybody. Right, jump to blah, blah, blah. And then this one was blah, 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 blah. Sued, right. And summary judgment applying to the circuits. Moment of threat. All right. Moment of threat. Again, I have not used moment of threat. I use totality. So that's just my world. So moment of threat, which again, the timing is kind of funky. If you do a totality of the situation, of the circumstances, you're going to be able to pick everything out that you need for both defense and the government to put your cases together. But if you do the moment of threat, now you've got a timing issue, right? Especially in a case like the Minnesota one, where there's just so much going on in that moment, and literally all of that happened within 90 seconds. So that moment standard is a difficult one to really nail down. So the Supreme Court said, nope, everyone needs to do totality. And it was written by Justice Kagan, I believe. And she has a huge background in criminal law. So she did write this. This was unanimous, I believe. And again, with this totality versus moment of threat. All right. Happy Friday to you too. Yes. So, oh, you want Olympics too? Oh my gosh, we'll have to have a pizza party. That'll be fun. All right, so pull this case, everybody. Here's your screenshot moment. Pull this case. Again, just for anyone new coming in, I'm kind of setting out the pieces that we've been talking about with the posse comitatus and the martial law situation. I'm pulling out all the relevant pieces of law so people can get them themselves if you need it. So here you go. Barnes v. Felix again, and this is the most up-to-date self-defense ruling out of the Supreme Court. All right, so here we go. We're doing some more organization. We've got some codes. So what I like to do also is just make an outline of how to organize my war chest. So I've got to pick my categories. Oh my gosh, everybody. Categories. Yeah. I remember saying to myself, I won't have any problems with spelling because I will always have spell check. And then here I am, and I'm disappointing my fourth grade teacher. Oh my goodness. I was close. There we go. Categories. That's not even a really hard word for some reason. My mind is like, nope, not doing it. All right. So let's get into our categories. We just hit case law, so that's one of our categories, right? And then now we're going to go into federal statutes here. Again, just to kind of make sure we hit all the areas that we need to hit. So another piece of very important code, federal law, is Section 111 regarding assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. And this is, again, that use of force a lot of people are talking about quite a bit, but this is the statute that actually covers that, and that's very important. Next here, we've got 18 U.S. Code Section 1114, which is protection of officers and employees of the states. So it's good to have both of these sections and as part of your war chest, all right, as part of putting your legal documents together. Now, one thing too to note about the federal law, and I'll show you here in a second, is the military, when the military is involved in anything, which it could very well be involved in this, right? They're only using a couple of sets of code, right? They're using, let me make sure I get this out here correctly, everybody. So we've got a Title 10 for federalizing the National Guard. And then we have Title 32, which is a hybrid or what is used by the states when there's like a national disaster, those kinds of things. All right, so that's 32. We have to have the states involved here if there is something going on, because the states are the ones requesting the National Guard. Now, again, the president, under certain circumstances, can federalize them, but those circumstances have to be in play. You can't just say like, oh, I really wish I had a peace prize, and then somebody gives you one. Like, that's weird. We don't do that. We don't do that here. We got to make sure we're following the rules. So when we're talking about the military, these are the sections we're going to talk about. And then, of course, the emergency is under Chapter 35 of Title 50, and war powers is under Chapter 33 in Title 50. So, I probably could have made like this really cool thing on the computer with this, but man, here I am with my stickies. Here I am with my sticky notes. Does that include following while humming the Darth Vader theme? That's like one of the greatest moments that we've had in DC so far. Nothing but respect on that one. So these are, again, just to remind you, we're not dealing with the entire federal code. when it comes to this kind of stuff, there are limits. So we've only got a few sections that we're looking at here. All right, so hopefully you can screenshot that for all the dorks like myself. So to give you an example, is the Insurrection Act, which is the one getting tossed around right now like a weapon. They're weaponizing the number, the number 13. It's being weaponized, everybody. Oh, my goodness gracious. So, Chapter 13 of 10 U.S. Code. So, again, here it is. Title 10 is that federalization of National Guard. And under Chapter 10, we have insurrection, right? So, Chapter 13, when you go in, you're going to find the insurrection pieces. Now, we're weird over here as compared to Europe because we don't have our martial law just set out. We have martial law, but it's kind of all over the place. You're kind of picking through to find different pieces. So this could be part of a martial law piece here for the puzzle. When we are looking at the different things going on here, right? The big piece we're looking at here is going to be 252, the use of militia and armed forces to enforce federal authority. Even the title of that is like, oh geez. So here, it specifically says, whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages, or rebellion, how do we define rebellion? It's tricky. There's multiple definitions. Against the authority of the United States, so against the authority of the federal government, make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States. So we're going to pause for a minute. We're going to say, what is it that the federal government is trying to do that they can't do because of the situation, right? And then next, in any state, by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings. So they're saying here, the state law doesn't work. That's literally what they're saying. The state law cannot be done. The state constitution, gone. State courts, gone. Circuit courts in the states, all gone. All of the state laws are unable to be enforced with state law enforcement, right? Can you even imagine what that could look like? I have a really difficult time trying to understand how that would look. So I go back into the Civil War days and take a look at a couple of the states then, and it's just a mess, everybody. So that's another reason why I think it's important when we're looking through these documents to understand the exact wording, right? Because they're coming in like, oh, Insurrection Act. Hold on a minute, right? Hold on to your horses. Because is our state laws not being taken care of at the time, right? So that's kind of a big deal. Right. ICE has no power to go forward. They are powerless here. States' rights only to, I know, right? So we got to remember that. States can't run their own legal system anymore, then the feds can be like, wow, they're out of control, we're coming in. So, judicial proceedings. He may call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws. Again, right? So making it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States. But then down here, we're saying enforce those laws. So we've got federal laws that need to be enforced. Who's enforcing the civil laws who's enforcing the state laws? That's the question too, right? Because the military's taking over. We got a lot of stuff going on in the state judicial system as well. or to suppress the rebellion. And that's another big piece that they tried to use multiple times. This administration's tried to use this several times throughout his impeachment hearings and such. But again, we don't have a strong definition of rebellion. That's something that would have to be debated. All right, so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about an Insurrection Act. All right, there are a few other pieces here, but this 252 is where the power comes from. And it's supposed to come from the states. The states are supposed to say, yo, feds, we got some problems, we need help. It's not supposed to be like, oh my gosh, they're invading our state, right? That's not what the militia is for. So using the militia for illegal purposes, that's a good question, right? Marcia, twist the narrative. Well, Marcia, I'd be happy to. Oh, she's gone. She went, she came, she saw, she offended, and then she was gone. All right, very well, very well. Wants to declare martial law so there will be no midterm elections. So, and a lot of people feel that way, but you can't, honestly, the way our martial law works, which is why I'm trying to go through all of this, is that it's multiple pieces. So you can't just write down, okay, martial law today, blah, blah. That's not how ours works. A lot of people feel that that is the way, but it's not. Right, because we've got the Insurrection Act, we've got the Alien Enemies Act, we've got all of these IEPA, all of these other national emergencies situations. And in order for him to do the martial law situation, he has to basically go through and meet all of the expectations of all these different pieces of law. And it's because we have such a strong federalism system. So we have the feds and then we have the states. And the states aren't going to be giving up any kind of power, even if they're friendly. They're not going to be like, okay, here you go. Can he cancel the elections? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's one of those fundamental pieces that they are using to scare the crap out of people. You have to remember the big thing with the elections is they are to be run by the states, and that's in the Constitution. Now, there's some federal elections here and there and everywhere, and they can say, if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to withhold funds. And it's like, well, you've been saying that and doing that for the last year. So move on. But no, the states are in charge of the elections. All right. So the president does not have the authority to stop them. All right. Oh, you bet. It's scary. It's a scary situation when you're thinking like this little orange fella is sitting there in the White House and all he has to do is write martial law on his like whatevers while he's having a Diet Coke. And then that's the end of it. Because that's the narrative the other side is putting out there, right? If you just look to the law itself, you can see the law itself does not allow for that. And it certainly isn't only for feds. There's a lot of state power in here as well. So that's why you'll hear multiple lawsuits involving the 9th Amendment and the 10th Amendment, because that's where a lot of the state powers are in there. Don't upset the Diet Coke. Sorry, my bad. My bad. Oh, I know. Yeah, you gotta go out and vote, people. I'm gonna need you to all go vote. That's really funny. I'm in Canada and I'm shocked at what's happening. I just want to learn. Oh, well, great. This is this life here. We're not here arguing and debating like the typical format. I go through different documents, I explain what they mean, and then we could chat about it. We could chat and be like, I don't think it's supposed to be that way, or let's get rid of that. And that's, respectful. So we try to be respectful in here. The moderators, each one of them are amazing, and they will give, kind of a 3 strikes you're out situation unless you've gone completely bonkers. So we do try to keep this in a learning environment, and I try to do that myself as well. The nails. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love doing my nails. All right. All right. So I got us off track. We were looking at the code. We've got, again, here, 10 U.S. Code chapter here, 13, if you're interested in that specific language. So, and again, every single word in that piece is important. And I suppose we could look at this piece. I don't really talk about this one much, but proclamation to disperse, that's also needed. Like there's 15 things needed in order to go through this process. One of them is that the president considers it necessary to use the militia or the armed forces under this chapter. He shall by proclamation immediately order the insurgents to disperse and retire peaceably to their abodes within a limited time. So even here, there's a step in the way. So if they're coming in, they're saying, oh my gosh, Minneapolis, you can't do anything. He has to do a proclamation and be like, y'all need to break this up and get back to your residence in a week or within a few days. And then if they do, boom, the emergency's over, right? So there's just a lot of protections put into place so it's not used all willy-nilly, right? Do it and apologize later. And I've noticed that as well, and that's quite worrisome. But I would say if you're going to do that, you need to do that in a place where you're not dealing with the states. Because I tell you right now, if he's going to go into, well, let's just use New York as an example, right? If we're going to use New York, we're going to just say, all right, now the military's taking over the courts. No more courts in New York. I mean, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We have to think realistically. Somehow there's a military presence in New York, and they're like, well, nobody here, none of the police, nobody has any authority anymore, just the military. What is going to happen, right? Oh, you bet. I'm happy to assist in that. You're saying he does do that, and you are saying something that is correct. You are correct. Purgatory of back to court cases. Oh my gosh, I know, right? We are 50 wily raccoons in a trench coat. I agree. I think they really have forgotten. Like we're all, for me at least, the Dobbs case, right, on ABs. I'm like, oh my gosh, back to the States, what are you talking about? But then when you pull back from an awful case like that should not have been ruled that way, in my opinion, if you pull back, you can recognize how states individually are protecting their citizens, right? So New York is not going to be like, all right, come on in, military. We'll just go back into our little homes, you know? No, that's not going to happen. Of course not. So you're going to have to work with the states. Maybe a few red states would be okay with that, but, you know, again, I'm not sure about all of that business. But for us, we have this split between states and the feds. And again, that just is what jacks it up so that they don't have a clear path to that. Okay, so fragging, well, I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to just look through a little bit. I can't do all of it because it's so awful what's happening here. All right, so another piece to put into your, again, we're building your toolbox here of laws, cases, federal laws, all of the things here that are involved in this situation, all right, the National Guard situation. So we're putting them all in one place. Next up, of course, we have the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, we just went through the federal code, and I've got a few more pieces of that to show you later. But the Uniform Code of Military Justice, it's huge. I've only printed a few pages because, you know, I can't bring myself to print it all. But this is what our military is governed by quite a bit because, of course, we have different rules in military courts, like just even the definitions of regular terms that we use in civilian court could be different in military court. So when our soldiers, when our people going out and serving their country, they have a different set of words that they use. And so they are following that along with the, rules that they've promised to uphold through the Constitution, of course. So this is something that I think is helpful, because if we start seeing some of these terms being used, or we start seeing things being knocked out and replaced, which I do not believe will actually happen, but you're going to be looking to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And their show runs a lot different than civilians. I think people may not recognize that either. It's like, oh, it's just a little different. No, they run their shows different. So from juries to indictments to trial evidence to sentencing, everything is different in the military because they have their own system, right? And that makes sense. Oh, well, I think so too, Punky the Cat. I think they would be too, but I'm just gonna say I think they're all in shock, because that's what makes me feel better. So, well, that's it for me and how I feel. Now, one piece, I'm not sure if you all have seen this or not. I pulled this or heard about it from Midas Touch. Is it Popak, I think? Oh my gosh, he does such great work. So he had said that there had been some kind of a refresher on use of force for the cubes and Homeland Security. And so that's what I've got printed here. I don't like to go through information where I don't know the exact source and the exact person and what exactly where it's from. But this one I have gone in and double checked, and I've got enough corroboration that I feel comfortable that this actually went out, right? I'm not feeling his I know it. I know. He really is Willie B. I know. I adore him. His mind is great. I'm like, you think of things in a very different way, and I appreciate that. So heads up, though, if you're looking for the refresher here on use of force, there is this set of PowerPoint slides out there. So we have Operation Metro Surge, which is what they're calling the Minneapolis situation here. And we have requirements prior to deployment. Travel authorizations have to be entered, right, prior to deployment. Per DHS Tactical Commander Bovino. Yikes. Review the attached legal refresher. You'll be signing a roster upon arrival, acknowledging that you reviewed it. So everyone's going to be signing like, okay, we reviewed it. Ugh. But, it's kind of whatever. So let's talk about this for a few minutes so I can kind of compare and contrast the civilian road here with the military road. Or the law enforcement road. So use of force. Use of force is a seizure of a person. Right. Right. That's a weird way to put it, but yeah, that's all right. If an officer agent applies force to a subject or the subject yields to the officer agent's show of force. So if they show some force, I guess that means you're in a seizure. And I suppose that, that could work. As a seizure, the Fourth Amendment requires that use of force is reasonable. This is the key term here to everybody. It has to be reasonable, and not just a reasonable person, because we're talking about some kind of enforcement crew out there. So it has to be what an enforcement crew person who is reasonable should have done. So the reasonable standard that we use, that's just like, what are you even talking about? It changes because it changes on the profession, on the training and such. So it's not just would a reasonable person have done what he did in that moment. The question is, would a reasonable officer of the same education and position have done the same thing? Right? That's the question that gets asked. Here, necessary to carry out the duty. right? And one more thing too, I would add with this duty element because of Minneapolis and what's going on there. So to carry out their duty, that's important. But they need to know what their frickin' duty is, right? Like, what's your duty? If you're trying to pull people out that don't have proper paperwork and shouldn't be here legally, all right, do your job. But when you have a situation where citizens and unknown other peoples are there, you can't just stop a car and go and yell at them. Like, do your duty. That's so far out of the realm of appropriate behavior for law enforcement. And again, I can understand the fear of being driven over, but that is a questionable situation. The fact that we can even ask questions about that means that you used too much force. So I'll just put that little soapbox out there. Process, and they threw it out the way. Well, right, exactly, Punky. That's the thing is, I'm not here to say, all right, anyone who's in this country, I don't care, welcome in. No, who followed the rules? Who are continuing to follow the rules by waiting for their day in court, right? So just you follow the rules is what you need to do, okay? That's where I'm at. Good Friday. ICE is not law enforcement. Fails. I can't speak of the second piece, but they're certainly not law enforcement. They're not enforcing administrative law. That's just not a thing. What we're doing is complying with an administrative policy. And if they're not in compliance, that doesn't mean that you're going to be unalived. It just means there are options for punishment for not following along and doing what you need to do administratively. So that's really frustrating. And some people are like, wow, they're not here. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is paperwork. This is paperwork. And some people are saying, what about the violent criminals? To that I say, what about them? I mean, we don't care in the criminal system. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're breaking the law, we're going to go for you. That's the other piece too. I'm not sure, Ronnie, the question is, they are law enforcement, and I suppose you could kind of dance around that, but they are not enforcing the kind of law that the word enforcement would cover, right? They're out there trying to determine what levels of paperwork people have. That's administrative. That's a quasi-criminal situation. So those words can be very triggering, right? Because again, they're like, you don't have your paperwork. We're going to take care of business now. And if they don't, they want to take care of business, do it. Just do it lawfully. Do it so that it's appropriate. And I think a lot of things could have been done differently here and easier, and their goals could have been met in the same location they're being sent. Right. And we've definitely got some big questions between state and federal with that as well. So this is that section we already talked about, 18 U.S. Code Section 111. So this is the amount of force, right? So what is not a violation of 18 U.S. Code? So let's take a look at that. Again, I believe this is a, legal refresher that the, people in power sent to some people. How the state police is protecting the Cuban, not citizens. Are you finding, is it the state troopers? Is that what you're talking about? Because the ones with the really big hats? Who does your nails? Oh, Tiffany, that's so sweet. No, I do it myself. I do it myself, and I enjoy it. It's like my little meditation time for myself. So that's important. Okay. All right. Thanks. The best nails. Okay, so Lex Defender, what you're saying is, why are the state troopers assisting ICE? And my answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know why they would be doing that. I mean, they kind of walk a line, state troopers do, because typically when jurisdictions cross over, like especially, like I'm kind of in the middle of the country, so in a big old state where, it's going to take you a few hours to to get to another jurisdiction, Meanwhile, like in Maryland, you can just like go buy some gum and you're like, boom, in another country or in another state. But so I think location's important. And then our state troopers really do walk a line because they have to make decisions that may affect or may need a federal law piece to it. But if they're just out there, rah, let's do this, go team, that's troublesome. That's very, very troublesome. Right. Big for traffic. Right. Bad crashes and such. Well, right. Exactly, VC. And, usually they're also meant to kind of defer bad behavior as well, right? Because if you're looking at a state trooper driving around, you're going to be like, oh my gosh. All right. That's my personal opinion with that. Right. Well, unprovoked is something that has to kind of be shown. Sorry, it's my hot chocolate moment. Really, there's usually only a handful of state units in a district. Very true. And that's the thing also with state troopers is that, you don't have a lot of them to deal with. But I always had a difficult time with state troopers like coming in and testifying because seriously, it's the hat. I'm like, how can I take you seriously with that hat on? And their rules are like, yeah, I gotta wear the hat. I'm like, that's so weird, man. I had a hard time with that, but working hard here. Some are jerks, some are not jerks. That's just, the power of the people. But here's some examples. I'm trying to not squirrel out to the side too much. Here, yeah, I can't do the hat. And I don't want to say it. Like they'll arrest me for something. Oh, that's harassment. Like, no. Oh my gosh. All right. Examples: non-compliance, refusal to cooperate with officers' commands. This is a big thing here. So, and I've noticed this has been increasing so much over the last few years, where before police could really rely on, I'm the law. You need to follow the rules in order for people to comply and make things a little less messy. Plenty didn't, but there were some that they still had. But I tell you, nowadays, forget about it. They are like, yeah, you want me to do that? Make me. I'm like, well, I don't think you want to have an officer make you do something. That's not going to be good for you. But there is a lot of pushback now, way more than what used to be pushed back, right? And I'm not saying that that's wrong or right. I'm just acknowledging a change here in our culture when it comes to police. So what they're saying here is if someone's not in compliance or they're refusing to cooperate, you may not, right? You may not come in and use 111, which is that higher level of force, right? So passive resistance alone is not conduct under 18 USC section 111. 111 sets out when you can use different levels of force, right? And right here under 18 U.S. Code. So they're saying just because they're not complying does not mean that they're the first aggressor for the purposes of self-defense, right? Or excessive force. So be careful about that. This, by the way, is not legal advice. This is just legal information available to the public. Next, disobeying commands without fighting back. This, I would say, disobeying commands really is a trigger for a lot of law enforcement. Like they'll say, why don't you come over here to the left or to the right, right? And you'll be like, well, I'm not gonna. And then they like lose their minds. I know it happens a lot because they're all nice. Like, oh, where are you going tonight? Okay, that's nice. Oh, yep. Ooh, what you got in your bag? Okay, that's all right. And then in the next minute, they'll be like, I told you to put your hands on the wheel. Like your life is over. And they have to be able to do that. That's part of the policing. So we have to be careful. We have to be very careful about it. Because when you are working with law enforcement, you're playing a game. You're doing a dance, right? And so you've got to make sure that you're following the cues from the officer instead of like, I've got a constitutional right to blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not going to help you on the road right now in this moment with, law enforcement that's looking at you with a bad a bad vibe off of him. Lots of fragile men and police. Oh my goodness, Brian. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would have to say. Part of tyranny, abolish the guy. I don't know what that means, Daniel. I'm not sure what you're saying. Ragdoll. Go ragdoll when they get you in cuffs. I don't know. I don't know about that, VC. I mean, you can. That could be, though, you could get dinged on a very low infraction on that for interfering. But on the other hand, that could be a safer way to do it. I don't know. I don't know. Talking about real situation. Well, yeah, we got to do that, right? We went over the, right, exactly. So, I don't know. I probably wouldn't ragdoll. It's your choice. What I would do is, I'd just be talking the whole time. Like, okay, this is how much money I'm going to get for suing you. And then go through the process. Like, this is illegal. This is illegal. And they'll probably get mad, and that's fine. You're going dead weight. Go for it. Go for it. You can dance if you want to. Yeah. I mean, whatever it is that you need to do in order to feel like you're going to be able to make it through the situation. Like, it's not good. It's not good. But you have to survive the situation until it gets to the end. And then you come back and you're like, all right, I'm going to take your house now. Excessive violence. Right. Even after restrained cuffs. Exactly. Well, and I tell you, Don, that screws everything up, though, doesn't it? Because once you are in cuffs, you're no longer free to leave. So you've been arrested. Essentially, you've been seized already. And then they come after you with, a battery or an assault. Like, that's no good. That's one of the things our juries have almost no tolerance for, is if they are cuffed and they are neutralized so they can't do any harm, like, leave them be. And for some reason, our officers many times, in my opinion, get caught up in the moment. And that's something that needs to be trained. That's training. That's muscle memory. You can train for that so that that's not your immediate response to a situation. Okay. Just take it 3 agents, kid. Oh my gosh, I know. I've seen it. Oh, the shackles, they really are. Saw a video of the knee. Oh my gosh. One of my biggest pet peeves, Dawn, is the knee to the neck. Right? That's like, dude, what are you doing? I get that that's part of their training, but like, they also have brains, right? You can use your brain. Be like, this isn't okay, right? And also, the other one that gets me too, everybody, is when law enforcement just drags people. And that, in my opinion, doesn't get a lot of press because they're like, oh, they dragged them. And all I can think of, if you're getting dragged and your clothes are coming off, so to speak, this is just for educational purposes, TikTok, your skin is the only layer that's left, and how much of that will be harmed by pulling. And again, that's not something that gets a lot of airtime because people are like, well, you got to do what you got to do. But that's like really can be very, very harmful, actually, and can be some of the worst injuries that people sustain when they go after excessive force. That's going to be probably the biggest one, is if you pull and you scratch all that skin off of the side or off of the back. Like, my goodness gracious, that is a lawsuit. Yeah, the road rash, right, road burn, exactly. When they're, right, and it hints of that, but the intent's not there. Spooky, scary, and I understand where you come from on that. But, oh my gosh, every time I see it, it just breaks my heart. And I have no love, let me clarify, I've got no love for criminals. I do, though, believe humans that don't necessarily have to be skinned alive should be. That's where I'm at in there, in case you're wondering. All right, moving on. Here we go. Taking photographs or videotaping an officer or operation in public. If someone's taking pictures or videotaping, we are not in the self-defense world or excessive force world of 111. All right, so this is like, even if you were out in the field, everyone, like today, I know a lot of people are going out to protest, and good for you all. We thank you. Thank you so much for that. But if they'll go out there and they're like, stop videotaping, video, do we say that? Or stop filming, stop taking pictures, and then they just like jump ya, like that's not okay. That's actually a violation of the law to do that, because you can. You can take pictures, you can record, and quite frankly, you should record, because there's a big old mess and lots of lies coming out. All right, my opinion on that one. Same training, it's not supposed to go on the neck. It's in between the shoulder blades. Really? Okay, Kristen. I was wondering about that. I kept thinking, like, why are they doing that? And it's just bad training then, bad practice. They can't knock your phone out of your hand. That's a good one. Oh, well, yeah, just again, it's my opinion. There's going to be different ones, but out there, witnesses who document are so important. Oh my gosh. The witnesses that are there filming, telling us what's actually happening rather than just the ice telling us what's happening, that's it. I mean, those are the real heroes in this show, because that's how the cases will be put together. All right, protected activity, back again. Too many squirrels. Protected activities here. And again, for anybody who's new, I'm just talking about some of the key pieces that you can use to kind of put all of this stuff in one place so it's not too overwhelming. So I have done a couple of lawsuits. I've done federal statutes as well. So now we're getting into what has been deemed an update for the cubes that has been sent out. So First Amendment protects freedom of religion, speech, press, right to assemble, which is what we have a lot of problems with here, right? Because you're like, I'm assembling, I've got a freedom of assembling. But you got to be careful, because this can be regulated. Time, place, manner can be regulated if public safety is a significant concern. So right to assemble, definitely. But look around in the area and make sure that, you're within the place where they're saying, assemble. And to petition the government to address any kinds of problems that you have with the government. All right, so protected here. If you don't have a phone, pen, paper. Oh my gosh, exactly. The number one thing you can do, the number one thing you do when you go to a protest is have a really great sign, right? The second thing, bring a buddy. It's like swimming. Bring a buddy, because now you're going to have one person who will know what's happening to you and can be contacted by family, or you could contact family. So, and you've got a witness for everything that went down. So bring a buddy, bring a buddy if you can. And then we've got protected activities here. So, okay, signs, bring a buddy. And then number 3, make sure that you are following the rules in that area. Protected activities, speech or expression. What speech is something that we continue to define, right? Black armband can be seen as symbolic speech. Burning a flag can be seen as symbolic speech. So this one can be kind of widened and narrowed depending on what's going on, or expression as well. So that's fine, so long as it's not harming the public here. Next, nonverbal communication. Can anyone think of nonverbal communications that you might be doing towards the cubes during a protest? Anybody? Nonverbal communications. That's all right. That's protected. That's your First Amendment right there, working hard. Photos, recordings, media. Non-compliance, again, you're going to want to make that decision. Am I going to comply? And then, get to the end of this journey and then come back and sue if I can? Or are you going to really drag it out? That's your call. Right. I always call it the New York State bird, but I don't think people say that anymore. So I sound really old now when I say that. But yeah, right? Don't look, right. It's oh my gosh. Well, and you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get hurt. All right, non-compliance. Peaceful protest, march, rally, which we have seen so much. These huge numbers of people coming out peacefully, like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. Leaflets, signs, and picketing are the other things as well. So that's protected by the First Amendment. So let's see what they have put in that's not protected. So incitement. And this should be the Katzenbach. Oh no. VC, I have gone off the road. Katzenbach case. What? Oh my gosh. I'm really sorry about that, everybody. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. It was in the 60s. Yeah, so Katzenbach, when he's considered, well, right, that's interesting, James. Usually you've got to have that prurient well, your intent has to have that prurient element. Okay, always, oh, thanks. Did I spell, I'm like in here, did I spell it right? I don't think I did, but there you go. Listen, it was a triple K situation about Katzenbach. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was painful. Cats, Zen, and then the Bach. All right, well, all right. Oh, did I get it right? Zenbach. Okay, so this is where I screwed up here. So cat. Here we go. Bach. So box there. Now, this case basically says that you can walk around in your sheets and do what you want, but you can't burn anything on somebody else's property. You also can't go as a group and in that moment try to incite violence. So that's the Katzenbach test, or it's not really a test, but the doctrine that came out of that was you can assemble. You can walk around with your sheep friends and do what you wish, as long as it's not illegal. But you get somebody standing at a podium yelling out like, you know, we have to fight or you're never going to have this country again, something along those lines, which is inciting violence in that moment. That's not protected speech. All right, that was a long journey. Right. Long journey, but there you go. That's not protected. Fighting words are in a questionable area. You got to be careful. Fighting words case came from, I believe it was, what was it? There was I believe, okay, here we go. It was a Jehovah's Witness, and he was going door to door, knocking and saying hi. And local law enforcement's like, this is a Catholic area. You're probably going to get into trouble if you keep doing that. So the guy then was, the Jehovah's Witness was like, it was like a Charlie Brown moment where they had to like mute all the words. He like went feral and was like, blah, 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 blah. And then the police person was like, you know, I'm going to take that down. And so he got taken down. And so this came out, this fighting words, like if you have words being thrown at you that any reasonable person would have a visceral reaction to it, where they felt like they had to fight, they had to, like they had no other choice. That's kind of where we're at with fighting words. Fighting words is difficult to prove in court. It's not going to be your strongest First Amendment argument, but it's still a piece of it. We don't have it to that degree much anymore. A lot of our fighting words now fall into hate crimes, which is a different area of the code. Right. Fighting words could be threats. They're not always threats, though. That's why, it gets a little bit weird, because they could just be using a whole bunch of names and calling you and telling you to do stuff. But if they start including threats in that escalates it up to an assault or stalking harassment level. So that would elevate it. You'd have 2 charges then on that. Mm-hmm. Good afternoon. Hello. Yep. Important. Again, not legal advice here, everyone. We're just talking in general legal Questions. What about the cubes threatening to break a door down when they don't have a warrant? So you've got a couple things going on then. If you are in your home, the castle doctrine will protect you, meaning you can do what you need to do to protect yourself in your own home. If a law enforcement of any kind, even administrative law enforcement, like these people, the DOT drivers, you know what I'm saying? If they come knock, 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 open your door, we're going to break it down. No. If they don't have a warrant, no. The other thing too, just as in general, again, this incites imminent violence, by the way, is part of the Katzenbach test here. All right. And imminent violence. So all of these come from the Katz case. Anyway, if you have a law enforcement knocking on your door and they're saying, if you don't open, we're going to break it down. They don't have a warrant. They don't have a probable cause to come in and cross your threshold, right? Then everything that happens after that's going to be illegal. So what my family does, I'm not giving this advice, but what my family does, depending on who's here, my hubs is like, answer the door. And I'm like, no. So lights off, right? Lights off, or leave them if you can just hide, but go hide. Go put your headphones on, because they're going to be banging on that door for a while. But if you don't open that door, they can't come in unless they have a proper warrant, right? Now, if they don't, any evidence they get will be part of an exclusionary rule, and they can't use it in court. But if they're saying, we're going to break your door, it's like, you better have a warrant for that, because that door is expensive and you're going to have to pay for it. So that's how I deal with it. Oh, wait. I was just back to the pinned one. Oh, no. Sorry. Can ICE arrest U.S. citizens without a warrant? ICE shouldn't be doing that at all. It should not be arresting citizens. That's not within their purview. What about the cubes telling people, have you not learned what happens, referring to good? Well, that's awful. And that's what separates, I think. That's what truly separates the good from the bad. Like I come on here all the time, and I'm not going to just take all law enforcement down and say they're all, bastards or whatever. Because I don't believe that. I believe that people are people, and there's good people and bad people. That's a bad person that's saying that. If you have a cube coming in, or a group of cubes saying that kind of language, you've got a bad cube, and that means you're going to want to stay away. So if you hear something like that and you're able to leave, that's what I would do, because with that kind of language, it says they're willing to escalate, and you don't know what's going to happen. But that's just basics, good person, bad person stuff. So be very careful. Calling local if the cubes are banging. So to call the local law enforcement, I would say, use your best judgment, Cameron. Is it, again, if you're in your own home, go to a room maybe where you can't hear, all of it going down. But if you called your local police, they're probably going to just say, we don't have any authority or control. We don't have any authority over them. That's out of a different, bucket of rules at that point. The key piece is if they actually do go forward and break your door. I mean, if they break something in order to enter your home, now we've got huge trouble because that's not allowed. It's just not allowed unless they have a judicial arrest warrant and know you're likely to be there and be arrested. Those are the only times when any of that would go down. So again, the best way, and one of the ways that was so frustrating when I was a prosecutor, was that the people that didn't answer the door, that were just silent, didn't scream at them, didn't call, didn't do anything, but were just silent, those were the ones with the least chance of being arrested. So that's, again, based off of my personal experience here. But you got to do, again, what you want to do. If you feel like you need to call the popo, give them a call. Follow your gut instincts in that situation as well. I'd be recording for documentation. Love that. Absolutely love that. They don't have any warrants signed by judges. They have papers signed by another ICE agent. Yes, true. That's true, Apollo. And, that is a limited warrant, which is one of the reasons why the Wisconsin judge was like, dude, you don't have the right warrant here. Now, she screwed up a couple of other things, but if they don't have a warrant to get into your house, they have problems because, again, the castle doctrine. Insecurities to taunt them, right? Some of the taunts out there, I tell you what, the sandwich guy in DC, I'm still in awe of that. All right, here we go, everyone. What is not a violation under U.S. Code Section 111? Profanity or personal insults directed at officers, not a violation. Rude gestures directed at officers, again, is not a violation. Arguing with officers, I don't recommend that, though. I really don't. You want to stay away from them. And one of the best ways that I've put it over the years is anyone who has a weapon and a badge of some kind or patch or whatever, it's like a little sun, right? The sun. And you don't want to look at the sun because it's going to burn your eyes out, right? And you want to move away. They're too hot. So start slowly moving away from them. If you are right up there arguing, you're arguing with a sun and nothing good's going to come from it. All right. If let's say that you're tailgating out in the parking lot somewhere and an officer comes up and you're like, hey, let's debate Miranda. They're going to be like, well, you can debate that with your friend in jail. Be careful. Be careful about that. Oh, I'm so respectful. Every single person's going to have their own viewpoint on law enforcement, right? And rightfully so. And I will not take away how important that is. This is just my perspective on it. Don't argue. And if you're in a pub, don't argue either. All right. Challenging officers' authority. Now that's like, dude, seriously. I would say the number one situation where I see this happen the most is if it's a woman law enforcement agent. And it just comes with the territory and it sucks. But if you've got a woman who's coming in and being like, y'all need to stop this crap, they'll get knocked around quite a bit by this. Now, the women that I know that are in law enforcement are super strong, and I don't mean physically. They're just strong to deal with this day in and day out and have it not completely ruin their lives. So that's what I've seen quite a bit. So you got to watch out. They want to be bullies, yeah, in a lot of ways, but some don't. So we gotta, it's hard to figure it out at the moment, but we try to be careful or understand what's going to happen if you're not. So the last one, talking back to officers during police contact. So that to me says if you're sassing a cop, it's not going to be a violation. It's not going to be a violation here. But if you're threatening assault or other various stuff, like they don't like that, that makes them mad. So, right. Cube step right from following their cars. Calling it interference, true or not? That's a tough one. If the cars are at a significant distance from each other, you're going to have less of a chance of harm coming to you. But because you're in a vehicle, they're in a vehicle, and if something did happen, if they had to stomp on the brakes because somebody was crossing the road or something, your cars could collide. That could lead to, an assault with a D weapon situation. I don't recommend the following around of the peoples in order to scream and yell and whistle. Although do what you want, people. But I am a big fan of making sure that once they're parked and ready to go into an area, that there is support, that there are people in that area watching them and whistling at them and such. But it's not good when you're in vehicles. That kind of muddies the water, in my honest opinion. Right, right. Sass. No, sass is okay. You can sass. You can sass. Why are they calling themselves police? Because they're insecure. They're insecure. Now, if they had the authority or desire to be police, then that would have already been changed, but it's not been changed, and they continue to go down that road. That happens sometimes with our university coppers out there. If you're living in a university town and you've got, some of the lighter police work, as it were, that go around and make sure everything's okay on campus of a university, they are like, dude, first, we want a weapon. Second, you need to call us law enforcement. Like, you can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't mean that it's true. Wasn't peaceful protesting guidelines that were used in the 60s. There were, absolutely. I mean, there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. And so that's a good question, right? Easy to get boxed in and say that. Right. Well, again, give them space, for sure. But sometimes these situations, they just escalate so quickly. That's why the training for the officers needs to be at a higher level when it comes to that. And that's only going to be helpful. It's only going to help law enforcement for them to have training on de-escalation, for sure. This is I'm AI? Really? Oh my gosh, sloppy reasoning. Well, I do enjoy a sloppy Joe. All right, I'm AI. Ooh, what? She's got cocoa. That's crazy, AI lady. Oh my goodness. Right. It's an announcement. No, that's so funny. I think the reason ICE got $11 billion was to settle civil suits. I think it's a big part of it, actually. I think it's a big part of it. And you've got good eyes that you have noticed that, because what they need for gear and salaries and such is not at that level. But with the harm being done to U.S. citizens, every single U.S. citizen right now that's been pulled in or touched, which is an assault, or harmed, could walk down that road for civil litigation. So absolutely. Absolument. Why are you on here telling secrets? Am I telling secrets? Because this is all public. It's all public information. You can go to your computer and pull this up right now if you're interested. That's right, that guy Alan. There's no way. Our taxes pay for their suits. True. Oh my goodness. Get that $50,000 bonus. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be, this is gonna be rough. And I've seen it before too, just for regular law enforcement, where they're like, here you go, sign up bonus. If there's something that offers you sum of cash in order to join, I'm feeling like it's not going to be a great work environment. I'm just putting that out there. So I'm not sure how appropriate or inappropriate that would be. Being touched by an officer, assault, or battery, the two confuse me. So the best way to understand is a battery involves some kind of actual touching. Meanwhile, an assault is you are in fear of an unwanted touching. So assault and battery gets mixed up quite a bit depending on your state. Most states actually combine a battery and an assault into just assault. But some places keep it separate. When we're in civil court, we have to keep it separate because there's two different intentional torts that go with battery versus assault. But in criminal, it kind of all gets mixed up. Unwanted touching, that is, again, a battery. We call it an assault. And then technically an assault is the fear of that. So you don't actually have to touch anybody to have an assault. You just have to put them in fear of being touched. Right? Other officers have to be looked down. Oh, I know. They're gonna need some PR work for sure coming back in here, because that's gonna be a mess. But we got a lot of cleaning up to do when this administration's done. So I'm already starting to like think, okay, well, how much wood are we gonna need? Because we gotta close up that east wing of the White House somehow. Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. I did not make it through all of what I wanted to do here. We went about halfway, but I'll do the other half at another time. So, what? That's funny. Ooh, Tubby Cube. I love that. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. I will be on and off as time allows. So have a great